So those of you that have followed me from the beginning know that I grew this lemon from a pit that I'd saved while cooking. That was back in, I think it was about April, May 2019, so about 3 years ago now. I sowed 5, and I did have 5 plants. I gave one away, but of the remaining 4, this is the only one that really survived. So I was watching Gardeners World last night, and there was a couple of segments on citrus, and one of the things that was stated is that they like humidity, so it was suggested that you spritz them. So I didn't know that, so I've just done that now. The other thing is I was getting quite concerned about it because it had got some yellowing leaves, but Monty Don brought his out into the garden and I could see a lot of his leaves were yellow as well, so that was kind of a relief to me, really. And what he suggested is that you give them a good feed and that you let it run, just keep pouring it in until it runs through the pot. So I've just done that, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. If I come back in again, it's got an awful lot of new growth coming, so I'm actually quite proud of that. Oh, it's time for a bit of a revamp. There's 3 coats done, about to do the last one. So it's all finished now, just need to put compost in there and plant it up. I'm happy with that. So that's this weekend's project finished. So I've chosen a crimson African marigolds and a blue trailing lobelia. So they're identical, each little socket. I haven't decided what I'm going to go in the pots on the top, but they'll probably be blue or white, or maybe a deep pink. I've just put up a codlin moth trap, which has got a pheromone scent tube. I think Paddy's got wafts of it. He's been sitting there sniffing the air for ages. So still loads and loads of blossom on the apple tree, but where the blossom has finished is where the little apples will form. And if you've ever bit into an apple or a pear that's homegrown and it's had a little worm or caterpillar in it, that has been left by the codlin moth. I've just been doing some reading on it, and apparently the caterpillars can't feed on the leaves, so they bore into the fruit, and they're a major pest. So for that reason, at this time, now the blossom is starting to drop, it's advisable to get a codlin moth trap, which is this here. So I've had this trap a few years, but the insert is new. It's a sticky pad which the moths get trapped on, and that little rubber tube has got the pheromone in it. It's the scent of the female codlin moth, and that's what attracts the males to the trap, and that is what young Paddy can smell. This has just reminded me of my old dad. He used to say to us kids when we were little, you don't want to worry if there's a maggot in your apple. It's when there's only half a maggot, that's when you need to worry. I have a very, very poorly rosemary. I don't really know what's going on with it. It looks a bit like rust. It looks a bit like mosaic virus. But it's going to come out. I'm going to have to do some research. So I've been to the garden centre and I bought myself some herbs, and I've got a replacement rosemary. Now this is Britannia and it flowers mid-spring to early summer, but it likes to be consistently moist. That's how it describes it. So that's going to go in a large pot in a sunnier part of the garden. But you can see how healthy and green those leaves are compared to the one I've just pulled up, which just look terrible. And it's so disappointing when you have to uproot an established plant, but there was no saving it. I've also bought some more mint. That's going in a separate container because that will spread everywhere. And I've got myself 3 different types of thyme: Silver Queen, Common Compact, and Lemon Thyme. They look really lush. The smell's fantastic. So I've tidied up that corner, so that doesn't look so bad now. You saw that. I've weeded all this area, so that's all weed free now. Where I earthed these potatoes up the other day, look, they're poking through again. So they need topping up again. The greenhouse, I've washed all the glass on the outside. Just got to do inside now. But you can actually see out the windows now. And then come round the garden. What else have I done? Oh, I did some weeding over here. This is all nice and tidy now. This had gone very, very green, so I emptied that out yesterday, scrubbed it, filled it up with water and poured in bleach, covered it up so no creatures could get in there, left it all overnight to kill off the algae. Tipped that away down the drain, that's been scrubbed, and now it's crystal clear. But we've got no sun at the moment. What else have I done? Just potted about really, so that's the bank holiday weekend in the garden. It's coming along. Now I'm waiting for a delivery because my little pond has gone very green. And I've got a real issue with blanket weed, and it doesn't matter how much I try and get it out, it just keeps coming. So I've ordered some stuff. Oh look, there's some little creatures down there. I don't know if you can see them. It's actually teeming with life. And my lily's waking up, but yeah, you can see all the blanket weed there. So I'm going to have to treat it. I've tried putting it off and trying to just manage it myself, but it's becoming quite unsightly. Tired. I'm a bit of a mess as well because I've been stuck into some really mucky jobs today. But before I go, I had quite an experience this morning. I've lived in this house 20 years and I've always loved wildlife and birds. But this morning, my son came home from work. He was on nights last night, and he come home, I think it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd got my first cup of coffee and I was just sitting in the garden just watching the birds, and he come out and we were just chatting, and suddenly above the house was a red kite. Now, they were almost extinct in this country. They've been reintroduced and they are doing pretty well. We've certainly got quite a few in East Anglia, but mostly very, very rural areas. And although I'm surrounded by countryside, it is a small town where I live. Very small town, very big village. But I've never ever seen a red kite over the house. I was so excited. So I took some film, but it was really hard to focus on it, so it is not brilliant quality, but I wanted to share it with everybody. So yeah, till next time. Oh, don't.